Sadly, for too many low-income children here in New York and across the nation, for too many children, poverty is winning. Demography has become destiny. The zip code that you're born into too often is a harbinger of your life outcome. Jeff is right. Poverty is a ferocious monster, and we're right to respect its power. But at the same time, Robin Hood has shown us that our city's spirit depends on our belief in and commitment to working toward the promise of meaningful transformation for those in need. And one of the things that I've learned from Robin Hood is that if we want to help children beat the odds and break the cycle of poverty, education is the best up escalator we've got. And within education, teachers matter most. So just as an example of how teachers matter so much, Dave Levin mentioned earlier is the teacher zero in the entire education reform movement. So many of us have learned about teaching from watching his class. There's another guy, and he was one of the founders of Relay. There's another guy in this room, Brent Madden, who's the provost of Relay. This dude, when he was teaching students in Southwest Louisiana, and the kids weren't showing up for tutoring, and he heard that they were working over at McDonald's. He'd show up at McDonald's and start tutoring them there. And before you know it, he had 75 students showing up every day after school at McDonald's teaching those students. Our dean, Mamie Hostetter, was teaching at Deerfield Academy, and she had a couple of KIPP students there, and they said, you ought to be in the Bronx, and she made a beeline to KIPP, and if you want to learn how to read To Kill a Mockingbird, this is the teacher you want. Teachers like this make a huge difference. Great teachers meet their students at the threshold of the classroom with a handshake. They shift the ratio in the class from teacher talk to student talk. They speak with a strong voice and frame instructions positively. They move with urgency and speed to make every second count. They teach rigorous content and lifelong character lessons. They insist that 100% of their students be on task, but they bring showbiz and joy to the lesson. At the end of the class, they get an exit ticket that shows that their students have learned and mastered the objective. We all remember great teachers, the ones who taught us to solve quadratic equations, or who taught us to debate the causes of the American Revolution, or taught us to dissect a poem or a frog. We remember those. And when we came to our own children, and I've got two in the room here, we made sure that our children had those great teachers. And we did this either by moving to a neighborhood where we were sure the school would provide them, or in some cases we would pay tuition for something that really ought to be an inalienable right. But tragically, for too many low-income children, they don't enjoy that luxury. And the research is pretty darn clear that one teacher alone doesn't make a big difference. 3 teachers in a row, a relay of great teachers, at least 3 teachers in a row will take an average student and put that student in the top decile on the road to college and success in life. And the counterexample, 3 ineffective teachers in a row, 3 ineffective teachers in a row means that you can kiss college goodbye, and the pursuit of happiness becomes much more problematic. It's the losing ticket in the education lottery. The wonderful news is that great teachers are not born. Yes, they come with a will and a mindset that they're going to go through a wall for their kids, but they're basically made. They learn how to teach. Talk to anybody who's great at it, they were really struggling right away. And so the proposition of Relay Graduate School of Education is that we are going to teach an army, a generation of teachers who are going to make a difference in the classroom for low-income students in New York and elsewhere. We believe that this requires us to think about the work in a different way. We focus differently than the 1,400 other graduate schools of education that have come before us. We focus less on knowledge and writing papers and more on practicing those techniques that I described before. We videotape what great teaching looks like so that we can teach our teachers. And we ask our teachers, we arm each teacher with a video camera, ask them to film themselves, and have them practice these techniques. And here's the radical thing. It's not about standing up in front of the room and talking and teaching. It's about student learning. So if after 2 years in our program, you're not getting student growth and achievement, you're not getting a degree and permission to keep teaching. Finally, we're not hiring researchers to teach teachers. We're hiring great teachers to teach teachers. Folks like the ones I mentioned before. The best teacher I know, and probably the fourth most important woman in my life after my wife and daughter and mom, is a woman named Julie Jackson. She's a principal now, but she's also a professor at Relay. And you have got to see her in front of a classroom.
In the classroom, we cannot make excuses.
We cannot make excuses.
I personally believe that urban education is in a crisis. I wake up every day to do this work because I'm committed to truly making a difference in the lives of children who deserve to have a great education.
As we start doing this today, think about, what am I teaching on Monday? What am I teaching on Tuesday? Because you're gonna be able to go right into your classroom and apply some of these techniques.
The number one thing that I need to be successful is I need teachers.
Today, we are gonna talk about
I went to Dartmouth College. I always wanted to be that teacher when they put your class schedule for today, and when they saw history up there, they would go, yes.
Rachel, tell me, what is another way you can say same amount?
Equivalent.
Everybody what?
Equivalent.
I graduated from Spelman College. I always wanted to be that teacher that made them the person that they were.
Jarrell, you like to add one that you saw in there?
So she asked for a college voice, so I thought that was right as right.
Yes, and she kept
I graduated from Harvard University. The reason why I made the decision to teach, I really believe that I can have an impact. I really consider every single student to be a little me. And when I talk to them, I say, I grew up in your neighborhood. I made it, you can make it.
Why then does it make sense that the French would not necessarily make Native Americans do hard labor?
Having students that are, in many cases, 2 years behind is a huge challenge.
Our students are more likely to be in jail or dead than in college, and that needs to change.
Relay provides teachers with the latest strategies and techniques in teaching.
Take 30 seconds, I'm gonna come back.
Part of the curriculum at Relay is videotaping yourself.
Because the land was given to who?
It was given to nobles.
The land was being given to nobles.
It's like the coach, right, who takes the film and is able to break it down.
If you do give the wait time, you get some kids who aren't going to be first out of the blocks.
I remember looking at the video and saying, wow, you're not that good.
When kids start getting stumped, that's when you could start letting them use one another's resources.
When I can see it and someone stops and says, you could have done this strategy, that's so effective for me.
Anyone?
This teacher's pacing is off.
The podcasts were amazing.
The podcast allowed me to understand the information much better.
Pacing is all about finding the right rhythm.
I'm getting those tools that I need to be able to do my job well.
They live the learning, and then they have to immediately go back into their classroom and try out the techniques and strategies they just learned.
Jonathan, what's envy?
When you're jealous.
I can say it, man.
When you're jealous.
Like you're jealous of me sometimes, right?
In summer school, I didn't really feel engaged in his class. I think he's getting better.
It's just getting better and better and better. We're learning a lot.
Let's see if we can take this a step further.
The one technique that I was really able to put back into play has been the stretch it out technique.
King Ferdinand, they continue to send conquistadors to the Americas. Why?
So they can get gold, spices.
You really try to up the rigor by pushing them to dig a little bit deeper.
And if you have a lot of gold, you end up being what?
Rich.
Say it like you want it.
Rich.
Thank you. Okay.
He's definitely grown tremendously from when he first started. Not only do I see a better student now, I see a person with a lot more character.
I'm gonna go to college and I'm gonna be a big success.
It's not about just changing the life of one child, but really impacting the life of that child's entire family and the generations to follow that child.
We have some heroic teachers in the house. Can we give it up, please, for Jarrell, Rachel, and Kevin? These are teachers who are transforming the lives of our young people, and they are symbolic of the relay that we're trying to build. We've currently got about 450 teachers in our program, and in time, we hope to serve 1,000 teachers in New York City, and not just at charter schools. I see the Chancellor of the New York City Department of Education in the House, Chancellor Walcott. We'd love to work with teachers in schools all across our great city. But it's also possible in time that we could be doing this work in other cities across the country, and it's not inconceivable that in 10 years we could be in 10 cities serving 10,000 teachers and thereby affecting millions of children across the country. That would be a real impact. It's not just about serving low-income children. Great teaching is great teaching for all of our children. And I think thanks to Robin Hood, we're in the hunt for a new and better way of teaching that can have a huge impact beyond the group of students that we're talking about. Of course, there's still a ton of work to do to develop the program, and we're learning all the time, but none of this would have been possible without the early, confident, and major support from the Robin Hood Foundation, and particularly Larry Robbins, who's on the board and really got this thing going. When we asked for help, you raised your hands. We are working hard to make good on your faith and to do great things for our city and for our country. Thank you very much.